This is Amanda and I talking about her top 5 for health for men. And in your workbook, I will put links to her Yummy Doctor website where there's an absolute ton of resources of information. And I'm actually going to be referring you back there a couple of times later on as well. There's amazing stuff going on. So please have a listen to this, and I'll catch you in a minute. Amanda, thank you once again for joining me. I always enjoy our chats.
Same here, Adrian. Thank you for having me.
No, you're very welcome. And this one, for the people on this course, I'd love to get your ideas and thoughts on what would be the top 5 or 6 things that you would advise men in their mid to late 50s to help regain and maintain their health.
Yeah, well, I mean, at that stage of life, a lot of nutrition has to be really considered, right? I mean, it's not like men go through menopause, but they do go through andropause. And so it's important to understand that hormones are dropping off. And but the thing is, in our world, this is supposed to happen, later in life. It's a signal to say, you don't need to reproduce anymore. But men can reproduce ongoing, right? Men can reproduce later into their years. So usually the progesterone levels, which are precursors to the other hormones, including DHEA, they don't start to drop off until later on. However, we live in a world that is toxic, obviously, but that is also has a focus on population control, which means that a lot of the things that we're eating and ingesting or injecting affect our fertility hormones quite seriously. So there are common problems we see in the aging male population tends to be prostate tends to for hormone organ. That is an organ that produces hormones, that's part of the regulatory cycle of the male endocrine system. And that really does need to be sort of top of mind. I've even seen males in their 40s already having, restriction with urination,
Hmm.
or, getting up in the night to urinate, that sort of problem.
Hmm.
And so that prostate health is really important. So one of the things that is crucial for hormone development, because there are enzyme systems that will take a precursor and make it into a hormone, and those can become deficient. So one of those is zinc.
Hmm.
Okay. Zinc is an important part of an aromatase enzyme. And if you do not have that in ample amounts, the testosterone that is produced is a type that isn't as ideal, let's say, for the body to utilize properly. And so when that happens, you get biofeedback signals in the body that are saying, okay, we have to change, we have to adapt to this. And it can cause a slowing down effect of the production of these hormones. It can also lead to like the BPH, the hyperplasia of the tissues. They kind of go into a hibernation deficiency sort of situation.
Hmm.
And it can cause like swelling, storage of wastes, these sorts of things. And that, of course, presses and affects the bladder, affects, so mechanically affects the location of the bladder, but and squeezes the urethra. So it actually can restrict, urine flow,
Hmm.
obviously, because of the swelling. So, but additionally, it can affect the kidneys, sort of back up to source, which can decrease its your longevity,
Hmm.
and because the seat of the kidneys ultimately is your what's called Jing, which is your life force. and anything that is challenging will actually. Uh, so really getting that system, like I do encourage men to understand. Um, just gonna wait because the internet. Okay, I encourage men to understand their system. So look at the anatomy, just take a second just to look at what that all means in your body, just to
Mm-hmm.
get a good visual, and to support kidney health, support prostate health, and to support the hormone systems. That's really the forefront or top of mind, for where men, age 55 or older really need to be
Mm-hmm.
considering. And the zinc copper ratio is important,
Mm-hmm.
because there is something called ceruloplasmin that is like a shuttler of, helps to shuttle your hemoglobin and mobilize all these things. Zinc and copper have a distinct relationship in the body, needs to be there in balance. This is for both men and women. They're just
Mm-hmm.
different amounts in either. But so some men will just wear copper bracelets, or we have some on the website, or drink once a day out of a copper vessel where the water's been sitting in it for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
That you can get your essential copper from there. Some will take supplements. I carry a supplement that has zinc and copper in the correct ratio on Yum Naturals,
Mm-hmm.
so that could be utilized. It's often a good idea to perhaps have a test done if you'd like to see your metals, because at that stage of life, it's good maybe to get a hair mineral analysis done,
Mm-hmm.
or some sort of assessment done just to see your toxicity levels, because things like aluminum, all kinds of endocrine disruptors can accumulate, and that can complicate the prostate as well. So it can be a deficiency issue because the body's needing more of it to keep the organ functioning. Additionally, it's a toxicity buildup problem as well.
Mm-hmm.
And those metals and xenoestrogens will also be kind of like blocks where things don't flow and function properly. So that also needs to be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a heavy metals course,
Mm-hmm.
if that's a concern, to understand how to clean that up. There are different ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nice thing about holistic medicine or natural medicine approaches. There's many ways to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
So even through sweating, like, we should always be moving our body and
Yep.
sweating, right? And keeping the muscles strong, because, as we age, the muscles weaken. And so, especially if you want to keep your testosterone levels higher, and your bone strength, up, which also diminishes in age, then working the muscles is, it's a no-brainer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like free therapy. It strains the muscle enough that it wants to rebuild itself. It pulls on the bones enough to strain them just so. Therefore, they want to again,
Mm-hmm.
rebuild and strengthen themselves. So exercise is critical.
Mm-hmm.
Sweating is critical. Those are the easy ways to actually maintain homeostasis. And that the males also tend to get that belly, that sort of little gut.
Yep.
And usually that's a cortisol problem, but it also can relate to the heart. I've seen men who have, skinny little legs and a big belly.
Yeah.
And there's actually a hip to waist ratio calculation that you can do to calculate your heart attack risk based on this.
Oh well.
And men tend to get more heart attacks than women, based on, again, the way that the hormone display is. And that, that gut will actually pull on the aorta and can put physical strain on the heart muscle
Mm-hmm.
itself.
Mm-hmm.
So taking things like taurine, CoQ10, magnesium, ensuring potassium levels are in a good place. Um, those are really important for heart health.
Hmm.
And then when that gut, getting stress response under control, and that usually from the kidney. So we're circling right back to the kidneys, which also have an important relationship with the heart.
Yep.
So the kidneys and the heart, they have in Chinese medicine, you can look at that relationship. So everything it has to work as a holism, obviously. We talk about the different parts and pieces, but ultimately this is a machine or a system that has to work in harmony with all the rest. Um, and even though we see more bone related, osteoporosis, osteopenia in women, men are not immune to
Hmm.
these problems. And in fact, maybe it's even underreported because there's a little bit of a bias towards women in that regard.
Hmm.
And we do have a problem with excess estrogens or estrogen mimickers in our environment,
Yep.
and that really does deflate both estrogens and testosterones in our bodies, and that can lead to also different types of cancers. I do suggest for males who are experiencing, prostate issues, they are having, they're getting up in the night multiple times to urinate. They might even have low back pain, this sort of thing, to begin to work with a progesterone type of cream.
Hmm.
I carry the Nat Pro cream, especially if they also have ED, erectile dysfunction, in combination with that.
Hmm.
It will really assist the cleansing effect of getting rid of those xenoestrogens
Hmm.
out of the body. The progesterone starts to move the cleansing process forward, and it's like you're refueling, the machine,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh, we have all this gunk here, let's get rid of it. So for the first few months, you're really kind of cleaning that up, and then you don't need to use it like consistently after about a 3 month period. It's like you're loading it in your body
Hmm.
and using it as a type of a cleanse
Hmm.
for these false estrogens. And you'll notice, like, if there's erectile dysfunction, you'll the like down like how you're feeling and your changes, because a lot of people just start programs or start doing things, and they don't chart anything. They don't write down the doses and when they started. Like, just, I really advise people to keep a health journal
Hmm.
of what they're doing and how it makes them feel, how it
Hmm.
affects sleep and mood, bowels, and then whatever it is that they're supporting. Like if it's an ED issue, if it's a prostate issue, how it's improving it, and just rating it out of 10 every day. How are things today? Oh, that was an 8 out of 10 day. Oh, today's only a 5 out of 10 day. What happened?
Hmm.
And then reflect, like, oh yes, today was specifically, a stressful day, or I didn't get enough sleep, or I forgot to exercise. And you can really begin to map your life to see what is really working for you and improving you, and then what isn't, because
Hmm.
not everything works for everybody, and not everybody's everything as well. And it's not like we have a world where you can just walk into a doctor's office and they'll be like, yep, we'll test your zinc levels. Yes, we're going to test your copper levels. Yes, we know. We understand that your progesterone drops away after the age 30 these days. And, they're not.
Yeah.
You can't just walk in and get something like that, right?
No.
So we have to now become our own advocates and our own sort of research base
Hmm.
by introspection and observation and noticing patterns. There are a lot of herbs and tinctures on the market for these problems. Some work. I've seen men come in. They're taking the saw palmetto. They're taking the yohimbe. And a lot of them, their goal is just they just want their penis to work properly, and I get it. I totally understand. But when your thought is just on that one thought, you're not really thinking the bigger picture. And I've seen a lot of men just get very frustrated, sort of chasing that
Yeah.
desire to fix it, but sort of myopically, and like taking supplements and just to have things work in the moment, but not really understanding or looking. They supplementing. The goal of this is really to correct. It's not meant to just patch over
Yeah.
or have it work that day kind of thing,
Yeah.
We're trying to rebuild a system and cleanse a system.
There's a
And
very
I've
good
had a,
quote. Sorry, there's a very good quote by Miguel de Cervantes, which is take away the cause and the effect ceases.
mm-hmm.
And I think that applies certainly to this in health, that you've got to look at how it's affecting the entire thing and not just do like the medical industry does, which is when you get a problem, like you have a damaged finger, you become the finger. No, you're part of an
Yes,
entire system, an ecosystem, and you need to work with the whole system because the effects will be all over the place.
correct. And men, the minds of men that I've known, they're very the way a mind of a man tends to work is they see the problem very linearly. They want to solve it. They're trained to be problem solvers, and but to remember that as much as that can be there can be linear thought there now needs to be a spoke. That's one spoke of a wheel, and
Yes.
so now there's another and another and another, and just make sure that those other spokes are not ignored, because ultimately it benefits them to think like that,
Mhm.
and to correct this focused goal of like, I just want to have a relationship with my wife or my girlfriend or whatever, I want that to be better. And I totally understand it. But look in the mirror. I mean, you want things to work, but are your muscles sagging away? Do you have a big belly? You know, are you, still, your diet is still drinking pop and eating junk and, polluting yourself, drinking alcohol, excessively, this kind of thing. So, I think when we come into our 50s, it's really an invitation into our wisdom years, right? It's an
Mhm.
invitation to, okay, we're not little girls or boys anymore, we're through, the majority of us are through our fertility years. Now what? Now where are our sights? Ultimately, they become more about faith-based or God or the afterlife, or where we're going next when this incarnation is finished. And I think is to
Mhm.
have some sort of faith-based practice or meditation practice,
Mhm.
to ensure that the stresses are and the cortisol levels that come with those stresses are managed well, because it's fine to supplement, it's fine to want to correct things and strengthen yourself,
Mhm.
but what are you doing it for? And like, what's the real goal? Being honest with oneself, and where is the meaning in life coming from? So there's it's so coming from a holistic standpoint, which is what I teach. All those aspects are important, and the cleaning up, the cleansing aspect can, there's so many beautiful ways to do that. I mean, from breathing techniques, from your sweating like we mentioned, but even things like coffee enemas. I know some amazing men who at first, when they heard the coffee enema thing, men tell the same joke. Okay, they tell the same joke of like, do you want cream and sugar with that kind of, that's I've heard that. I've heard that one from not ever a woman. Okay, I'll just say I've only heard that joke, that dad joke, so rightly so, from males. And I laugh every time. I'm very kind with it. But it's like, but once you're past that, because that's just coming from like a little bit of awkward energy, like, oh, that's kind of strange, a strange thought to me. But when encouraging males to, use this practice, I've got the most advocates ever are men for coffee enemas, because once they do this, it's like life altering for them. And I've seen men turn around serious disease states with simply doing coffee enemas, and just stopping the assault on their bodies that they were
Hmm.
doing with their diet and lifestyle factors.
Yeah.
So it really can, I really do encourage the learning of that, the understanding of that, and, trying to do one maybe once a week as support and maintenance is a really good idea. Own time, it's like your own personal time. You get to hide away in the bathroom and do you, right? It's like, so there's a lot of benefits for it. And you certainly also want to make sure that your liver is able to keep up, with all the tasks. And this is a really sort of quick and easy way to dump the bile. So the bile is recycled through the body, and you want to encourage it to be remade, because bile connects and sticks itself to wastes. Okay. And if there's not enough resources in the body to remake it, it'll just keep recycling with those wastes attached,
Doesn't that
potentially
compound the
causing,
problem?
yeah, can compound the problem. Yeah. And can also lead to cholestasis, like this, where things are kind of stuck in there. This tends to happen more so with women, where you have gallbladder issues post age 50, but men are not, out of the out of the gig with that. So they also need, liver gallbladder care. And coffee enemas are just an easy way to dump that bile and remake it. Now, if there are actual gallbladder issues, then that a real flush needs to happen. I usually suggest Andreas Moritz's gallbladder and liver flush protocol for that, in case there's any congealed stuff in there, it'll come out. And then having, with meals, having digestive bitters or lemon water, or diluted apple cider vinegar.
Hmm.
Just thinking about when the meals are being approached to help the liver system create the enzymes, create the communication to ensure proper digestion and assimilation of those nutrients.
Hmm.
You know, I do really like the supplement L-glutamine as well, for everyone, but especially for men. Men tend to have a higher muscle mass to women, and this supplement, or this amino acid, supports the muscle development and
Hmm.
rebuilding. It also helps with brain health, and it, I like types of supplements that support multiple systems instead of
Hmm.
just one system,
Yeah.
and that is a very beneficial one.
Brilliant. I've already got 3 pages of
Yeah.
notes on top of stuff I already know.
Yeah, I mean, like my dad is he's in his late 70s now. He was born in 46. So, I men are targeted at a certain age by the medical industrial complex. They tend to be on a lot of statins.
Hmm.
Their cholesterol will go up as you age. This is normal. Cholesterol increasing as we age is normal. It is not a medical problem. It is because there's inflammation on the level of the tissues. Okay. Things are slowing down, metabolism, repair. We have telomeres shortening. There are things that are, that means cell division is less. We have this accumulation, going on. in our bodies, and then they tend to look at the blood results of that and say, oh, look, you have high cholesterol, we got to get it down, that's a risk for a heart attack, which is not the case.
Nope.
In fact, it's quite the opposite, because cholesterol is being produced as an anti-inflammatory agent. So this is why it promotes all sorts of things to support tissue rebuilding and inflammation control. And one of the biggest ones is DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, for this situation. You don't need to take a statin. So if any man is taking a statin right now, they can stop, and they can also stop cold turkey with that particular drug, and allow the cholesterol to do its job of keeping inflammation under control and cell repair and tissue repair. And whatever other drug that, often hypertension tends to be an issue as well. So they're put on, again, on hypertension, or on blood pressure pills, sometimes on a diuretic. Unnecessary, completely unnecessary. I already mentioned some supports for the heart, but ultimately the cholesterol is to deal with the tissue injuries that have been going on inside the vessels, inside the body, and that's through the cleansing process and increasing, the repair of those tissues with using some of the things I already mentioned, but also something like, DMSO, magnesium will support that. The exercise supports that. Even just staying hydrated. I mean, simple stuff like, a lot of men I don't see walking around with the water bottle, not drinking enough water, or at least not getting it through foods properly, this sort of thing. So considering that as well is super important. But no man should be on any med, and my dad is not on any medication, because they tried to do this with him. I think he was in his late 50s or so when they tried that, and he was still in that system a little bit, not really trusting it, but he was going to do it, and I said, no, you're not. I was very adamant that he wasn't going to, and he didn't. And they didn't ask about his diet or anything. And I said, okay, you're eating, maybe slow down on the eggs for a bit. He was eating eggs like every day. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's just take care of your system right now. And he started doing coffee enemas as well. And he's not on any medications, in excellent health. Doesn't have this has some of the issues that from his previous abuses, but nothing what you see now for someone in approaching 80.
You see, in my mind, Amanda, someone approaching 80 is just slightly past middle age on what I think we're capable of doing if we look after ourselves properly and we had a pristine environment.
Oh, I mean, the fact that, the so-called, if you make 100, it's kind of amazing sort of thing, that's a joke. I mean, we really just come through, we really just become adults, I think, by the time we're like 60, in and around there, I think we probably lived a very much longer than this. And we do have evidence of people who have. Yeah, the anti-aging, the idea of anti-aging is really about, can you maintain your tissue integrity? Can you maintain your signaling, your communication networks in your body? And stagnation is the end. Once you stagnate, that's the end of life.
Yep.
Once you pollute the system, you accumulate over time.
Yep.
You shorten the life, right? So, the reverse aging idea is, okay, we're gonna clean up the garbage, we're gonna help tend to the damage, and we're gonna prevent further damage. And that can be done with all sorts of things that are a lot is on the forefront of anti-aging. It's kind of fascinating, some of the stuff coming out now, like astragalus, like using astragalus and using other adaptogens to help with the telomeres, soothing. They soothe the ends of the frayed ends of the telomeres, for example. And we're going to have a bunch of different offerings later on that we've been working on for this particular thing, for mitochondrial health, ensuring those are functioning properly and giving enough energy to the body, repairing things amply, and there's no real the illusion of age. I actually was taught something that I find interesting about every birthday that comes, that there's a ritual that we do where we have a cake and then we put candles on it and then we blow it out. But by ritualizing the idea that we're aging,
Yep.
we tell our minds that we're aging.
Yep. Yep.
So we age.
Yep.
And then when you blow out the candle, it's like you're extinguishing your own fire,
Yep.
your own life force.
Yep.
So, being really careful with our belief systems about aging and, stop telling ourselves, oh, now I'm this age. So, and all the beliefs that you think go along with being that age.
Yeah. No, I think you've absolutely nailed it with that, because if you didn't know the calendar, and which is a made up thing anyway, and time's a made up thing, I think, just to trap us. But if you didn't know, you're frozen there. You back? No, so I was going to say, if you didn't know the calendar and you had no conceptual awareness of the passage of time, would you age the same way? I suspect you wouldn't. I suspect that, many, many decades would go by and you simply wouldn't change because you weren't aware of it. But we're trapped in this place that wants you to think you're older, because, I mean, this is off topic now and I might have to edit this bit out, but it can't have older, smart people about, because then you can rumble and say, hang on a sec, I know what your fucking game is. You need to pack that in. They can't have that. If you're completely consumed because you're ill, you can't function, cognitive, everything's gone, the system's safe. It doesn't
Yeah.
need free thinkers. It doesn't need people that have got more energy now than they had in their 40s like I've got.
If you're running a really long, culturally, like a family culture belief system that,
Hmm.
that because they're in power and they believe certain things, right? The people who are, making all these decisions on our behalf, if you want to control each population better, you can't have elders, because the elders have seen too much
Hmm.
and they've gone through spiritual layers of growth, and they can see through, these tricks. They're
Yeah.
very, because once you see through the ego, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Once you know the ego's tricks,
Yeah.
it's so obvious what they're doing and
Yeah.
what they are. You're like, oh, there that is, there that is, because you really have 20/20 vision in retrospect, and when you're older you have a lot more retrospect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, that's why I
yeah,
think it's critical that as we age, we should be taking more and more care of ourselves so that we can maintain and do that, because we all have a very specific job to do in the overall orchestra of life. We have a lot to give back, and each of us has a message that only we can communicate with certain people. And
yeah.
the better we look after ourselves, the better example we become of what's potentially available to everybody. And I think that in itself is a really powerful thing to do for people.
Hmm. Yeah, and then this is the way society's been set up, is that we there's a spiritual space that hasn't been filled, and by the time you hit like midlife, you have that midlife situation. Or on his wife, like almost like a clock time. Just gonna wait till my internet clears up.
Yeah, I'm afraid I missed all of that. I think you got by the
Um,
time you approach midlife and then it cut
yeah,
out.
yeah. So by the time, there's midlife, there's usually that midlife crisis, where you see, men buying sports cars and, maybe there's a divorce and they're
Yeah.
getting a younger woman, and
Yeah.
it's because there's hasn't been spiritual awareness to the gifts and um the philosophy of aging, right? Everything is so skewed to be youthful forever. Don't, approaching the end of your life is fearful or scary,
Mm.
and they're missing out on a lot of those enrichment aspects that come with that maturity, you know? And instead of chasing tail and playing video games, like trying to deny the fact that you're now in this bracket, right? Embracing it instead as the elder that we need, that you probably wish you had
Yep.
when you were a boy, right? And you
Hmm.
didn't have guidance, or you didn't have someone to help you process your emotions, or tell you that it was okay for you to weep or to express yourself the way you needed to, because males are really told to suppress and stuff a lot of their feelings away, in this world, and it hasn't done them well. And the it's an opportunity when you come into this time to soften that side, like to really come into the emotional,
Mm.
space, and feel those feelings, allow for that, go through a transformation.
Mm.
And that means having grounded masculine is like we need it more than ever, that energy, and to be able to come to someone who's has their head on their shoulders,
Instead of up
and
their
can really
ass.
problem solve. What?
Instead of a head up
What's
their
that?
ass. Instead of having their head up their
Yeah.
ass. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly, because and lay down, the ego is wanting to somehow run from that,
Yeah.
run from the inevitable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for transformation. It doesn't need to be a place of sadness and loss and grasping. It is meant to be a place of honor, and I hope that in future we can actually get to that place where we are able to honor elders and honor, men and women who have come through a life and have been able to transform their experiences in such a way that they can offer
Mm.
wisdom and
Yeah.
guidance.
Yeah. Amanda, that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. It really was.
Great.
It was great. Let me just
You're
turn off
welcome.
the recording, but let's stay on the line for a minute, if I may. Wasn't that interesting? Absolutely amazing. And I certainly took on board her comments about some of the supplements I had been taking, like the taurine and the glutamine. And also, I went out and ordered an enema kit the next day. And I have to say something. I've had colonic irrigation many years back when I went vegan first of all, probably 30 something years ago, and I'm vegetarian now. And I found that somewhat uncomfortable. But the coffee enemas, oh my God, you talk about an energy boost and an energy lift. It's ridiculous. I've been running around the house like I've been supercharged or something. Really, I mean, my girlfriend thinks it's all a bit strange, but no, it's absolutely fantastic. And by the way, before we finish with Amanda for this section, she and I had a conversation a little while back, and one of the questions I asked her was about erectile dysfunction in men. So the audio cut out a couple of times in this one as well. It's to do with where her internet is and where she's located. But you'll get the gist of this, because erectile dysfunction is something that can be easily solved with natural means as well, all to do with the trees actually. So let's grab a quick watch of that video too. So when I was looking at that, there are so many men that have erectile dysfunction. It's like 18% worldwide now, isn't it?
Hmm.
You have particular products for that. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Well, generally what's going on there
Mm.
is a couple things. Really, it's coming down to, again, the false estrogens are that we're all exposed to,
Mm.
and they affect women and men, obviously differently. It can affect the prostate quite considerably, and if there's chronic low level inflammation in the prostate and there's a zinc deficiency coupled with that, you are making testosterone that's like DHT, which is not like the best format. So it's just struggling to make the hormones that it needs to
Mm.
function properly. And it's not able to make the correct hormone for the job. So usually I suggest making sure that there's enough zinc in the diet or take a supplement if needed to um, assess the prostate, like where is prostate health, where's liver health. Again, doing things like coffee, taking things like magnesium. Now, magnesium with DMSO is on the DMSO store website. I would use that one
Yeah.
because DMSO increases blood flow. And this is so it's a blood flow problem, but not just a blood flow
Mm-hmm.
problem. Why isn't the blood flowing to the area? It's because the signaling isn't there. And but you are also working on blood health in
Yeah.
general. So that is a good approach. And then pine pollen. We have a lodgepole pine pollen available at yumnaturals.store, and that'll get you going pretty quickly. Just be prepared that it will get the testosterone levels up pretty decently, pretty quickly.
Another one from the trees then.
Yeah, yes, all the medicine from the trees
Yeah.
really help with stiffness.
Well, it makes sense that a product from the wood would help with wood, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
I
that's
love it.
interesting. Thank you. So, in summing up, might I ask you to do a couple of things? Number one is in your workbook to mark down the key points, the key things that really jumped out at you that you can take on board and that you will commit to making a part of your life right now. Would it be looking further into the enemas or buying an enema kit? Would it be some of the supplementation? Would it be to look further into Dawn's work and to wrap your head around that? I don't know. And also, can I encourage you to use that state management tool that I gave you, the 3 elements of it, to get yourself back into state, to get yourself more energized, to move differently, to breathe differently, to focus your mind differently, to start to assign different meaning to things. And just to start doing that, because repetition is the mother of skill in everything. So start to use this over and over and over again, and you will reap unbelievable rewards from this, absolutely unbelievable rewards. And that, my mate, my brother, concludes Module 1.